Fits. As I mentioned earlier, Gary was many things to many of us in Tuscaloosa. First and foremost, I always saw him as a patriot and enjoyed his stories about his many decades of service in the United States Marine Corps as a naval aviator. And he told me that most of the stories he told me were true. And so I'm going to take Gary at his word on that. And that's a true story. I love talking to Gary about business. You know, sometimes in the walls of City Hall, we get kind of captured in the moment. And Gary was always available to me to answer any questions about any subject, about any question that I might have when the city was presented with the situation. And he always did it with such kindness and respect that truly, I could see why he was so beloved. Gary also was a person who believed in community over and over again. He always believed in harnessing the power to do good. I saw it firsthand many times of our economic development clients. When I was first elected mayor, Gary was still very active and involved with our EDA. I can't tell you how many times we would be with a client, and Gary would talk to people we were recruiting to Tuscaloosa with a mixture of business sense, common sense, and this relatability regardless of whether they spoke English as a first language or not. People just love to be around Gary Fitts. And because of Gary, and truly, this is not me exaggerating for effect, because of Gary Fitts, there are thousands of people in Tuscaloosa County who have well-paying jobs. They can pay their mortgage, they can go on vacation, they can save for their children's future. They never met Gary Fitts, but because he lived and because he called Tuscaloosa home, their lives are better. Gary Fitts was a difference maker in his life. Gary Fitts treated everyone with respect. And when the city takes an opportunity to rename one of its thoroughfares, this is absolutely the standard we should have. Do you meet the standard life and legacy of Gary Fitts? Gary was a champion for our country, a champion for his family, a champion for business, and a champion for Tuscaloosa. So the city is indeed honored today to officially dedicate Gary Fitts Street. Now it's my honor and privilege to introduce another Marine, a proud Marine who helped sponsor the City Council's legislation to make today possible, a good friend and advocate and the counselor for this district, Counselor and Colonel Lee Busby. Mr. Busby?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm aware that on a chilly morning, brevity is a huge asset. Fortunately, the only talent that requires is an ability to shut up. So we're in good space here. I want to thank all of you for letting me be a part of this. I'm very grateful to be a small part of a ceremony that honors in a very tangible and lasting way an individual who has meant a lot to this community. And in this case, as in many cases, you can't honor the individual without, by extension, honoring the family. This family that is gathered here today has, over many branches and many generations, has been an inextricable part of the growth and development of Tuscaloosa. And that runs from everything to the devastation after the war between the states, to economic depression and economic prosperity and growth. And this family has been there as a part of it throughout. In my individual activities and often through television or news, I frequently see men who have achieved great levels of wealth, power, or acclaim. And certainly that requires an undeniable element of accomplishment and expertise. But frequently, I noticed that in some of those men, they're not men who I would point my sons to and say, that's somebody you should model yourself after. Gary Fitz was one of those men who I would be very comfortable pointing to and saying, there's a beacon of light, follow it. He was a warrior, a husband, a father, a business leader, a civic leader, and a giver to his community and to the friends and family around him. There is in our small town, mid-sized southern way, he was the equivalent of a Renaissance man. For those of you that remember the old Robert Duvall movie, The Great Santini, yeah, there's a few nods. You're giving away your age there. Either is replaying. Santini was, I think, a lieutenant colonel, aviator, commander of a fighter squadron. And as men of his ilk are, not always easy to get along with. He was foul-mouthed, short-tempered, hard-headed, and mean and tough. But he was the kind of man you wanted to have around when the times called for it. And there's a scene in that movie where he comes back and some incident has erupted. I don't remember if it was the Korean War or some little third-rate attack somewhere, but he and his squadron are being called out. They're going. And he comes home to grab his gear and pack his bags and head out the door, and his kids are all, oh, Daddy's leaving. Oh. And the mother is over there with her head bowed praying. And one of the kids says, Mommy, are you praying for Daddy's safety? And she says, no, baby. I'm praying for the eternal souls of those men he's about to go out after. Men like that, if they live long enough, while not exactly choir boys all the time, it is a great treat to watch them as they age attain the grace and quiet loving giving that they frequently do. Gary was one of those men. There's for those of you who are familiar with the Marines hymn, there's a stanza in there that goes, if the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. It's a great comfort for me to know Fitz Street will be watched over by United States Marine. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm going to introduce Forrest Fitz, also a fellow Marine and one of Gary's sons. Forrest?
Good morning. And on behalf of my brothers, Travis and David Fitz, and the other Fitz family members that are here this morning, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for being here to be a part of the 6th Street renaming ceremony in honor of my father. I'd like to specifically say thank you to Mayor Maddox and Councilman Busby for initiating the process and seeing it through that was required to make this happen. My father was larger than life to me. He was a man of action. He set the example. He led from the front, and he got things done. Most everything that I learned from him was based on a very simple principle, and that is to do the right thing. And that may seem very basic and broad, but I can tell you that my brothers and I knew what that meant from Gary Fitz's perspective. And we knew what he understood in terms of his expectations of us. That's what he expected from us, to do the right thing. My father passed away on May the 28th, 2022, And a few months before that, I was asked to be the keynote speaker at the Tuscaloosa Veterans Memorial Park Memorial Day ceremony. It was scheduled for May the 30th. I began to prepare my remarks, and I was very excited about the event because I knew my dad would be in attendance. Some of the points that I made were framed around the service of my father and my grandfather, Joseph P. Lawfer. They both were Marines. My father passed away shortly thereafter, and I remember receiving a call from Colonel Dwayne Lamb. And Colonel Lamb let me know that under the circumstances, he did not expect me to speak, and he let me know that he would secure a replacement. Knowing what my dad would expect, I told Colonel Lamb that I would be there. I felt his presence then, that morning, and I feel his presence now as we are here today to recognize his lifetime of doing the right thing in service to God, his family, his country, and his community. My family is honored by this recognition, and we thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you.
Gary's probably looking down and wanting to remind all of us that nothing good is accomplished in isolation. It takes a team to make success. This would not be possible without the affirmation and support of our city council. I see Counselor Fell here. Any other city council members that are here today? Mr. Crow, I'd ask our city council members come forward on stage. At this point, we get to the unveiling. And so Travis and David Fitz, if you will please join us on stage for the unveiling. And so we're going to ask Forrest, you, David, and Travis to do the honors. Fifth Street. We appreciate everyone being here today. I hope everyone today will take time to celebrate and tell someone who may not know the story of Gary Fitz. Let's share that story and let us all continue to aspire to meet the standard that he set. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless Tuscaloosa. Have a great day.